Another great week. Just excited to be here, excited to be with you guys, talking with you. We had another 5 companies sign up this week. SquareCoil is growing at an enormous rate. Last year, we just did over $1 billion in February of this year, and we're on track to do 1.6. So we are growing at over, well, I think that I'm going to do some math here, some painful math, but over 40%, maybe even 50% is what we're growing at this rate. So amazing times right now, just super excited. So many neat people. Marissa's flying to Australia to train a company overseas. She's super pumped on that one. She begged and pleaded for the Ireland company to come out and train her, but they figured it out on their own. So then she got Australia. So she's excited, a little international traveler now. So Marissa's heading to Australia for that one. And this is, I think, our 7th country that we're in. So just a lot of neat stuff going on right now. Just super, super excited. Want to go back to probably the first year that the software was implemented, and one of the things that I had to learn, and sadly learn the hard way a little bit. And the reason why I say is because we built the software such a way, we launched it to market, we started using it internally and realized that we had catastrophic failure. The way we had outlined it wasn't going to work. There was too many buckets in 2 different places. We had too many silos. And so we actually had to mothball the whole operation, move it to the side, rebuild the software in a nice chain-like process. And I had to go back to a saying, what's the quickest way between 2 points? What's the quickest way to get from A to B? And the answer is a straight line. And so when you think about that, the simplicity of that, it's very simple. Just draw a straight line, there's A, there's B, and you're done. Why don't we do that in our day-to-day lives? Why don't we figure out everything to be a straight line to make it easier for us? So as the software evolved and we had that straight line, and I really started to harness that straight line thought process of talk to the customer, create a design or an estimate, go into proposal, and then sell to the client, I really wanted to emphasize that straight line and make it as simple as possible. And then about 3 years into the software, it's launched, it's good, everybody's happy. I walk out into my shop and all of a sudden it hits me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, oh my goodness, I have not taken my own advice in my own facility, and I have channel letters over there, I have coil way over there, I have the paint booth here, but we're cutting over here. And I realized that the signs that we're making inside the shop are literally going like this, like a pachinko machine, all around our shop and then finally out the back. And I don't think it was going out the back. I think it was going out one of the side doors. And we looked at it and said, oh, we have to change the dynamics of our whole entire company. We need that straight line thought process. And so we started to harness what I always call now our inner Henry Ford. He had figured out the first automotive, assembly line. And he created an assembly line that each person had one job to put one part on it, move it along, and the next part. So that person got to learn through repetition and to be really, really good at that one job and then move it down the assembly line. And so with the signage, we said, okay, we're going to have to do the same thing here. We're going to have to do it. But money always comes into a factor, and people go, you know how much it was going to cost us to shut the company down for a week? How much is it going to cost us to move the router with a moving company? How much it cost us to bring electrical in and do all this? And I just smiled. I'm like, yep, didn't care. When it was all said and done, I will Quentin Tarantino this for you. It cost us $60,000 to revamp the shop. That's how much it cost us. And it was money well spent because inside of 6 months, we recouped all our money. Our signs were walking on average 280, maybe 300 steps. And now they walk a total of 56 steps, if that. The amount of money we saved and the amount of money, the intangible money that we saved was astronomical. So much money went in our pocket that in hindsight, if it cost us $200,000, we had to take a loan out to revamp our shop, I would have. It still would have been worth it. So let me walk you through that process. So the first thing that happens is raw materials come in. So we needed to bring in our the raw materials inside the shop and then protect it. A, from the outside elements, B, from theft, and we wanted to organize in such a way that's easy to find. So the first thing we did was we bought a forklift. Now, if you guys don't know this, a forklift almost triples your floor space as soon as you buy it. Because if you don't have a forklift, everything has to sit on the floor. Once you have a forklift, you can palletize it and stack it on top of each other. So we wanted to triple the size of our warehouse. So our warehouse is 15,000 square feet. So now we have 45,000 square feet to work with. So we started we welded up, being from a metal shop, we welded up our own brackets and racks, and we started posting all the aluminum and all the acrylic in the racks. So we had one door that was our incoming receiving door. And so the forklift could go in. We had to have, 10, 12 feet of space around it so the forklift could maneuver around. And then from there, we said, okay, what's the first thing that happens? Usually it's the router. Said, okay, we need to have the routers right here. Well, the routers end up being in the middle of the warehouse, and we're like, we need electrical. So we built a wall, and then we brought the electrical right down the wall from the roof. And then the second thing we did was we ended up putting a whole bunch of sound barrier around the vacuum pumps that was right against that wall. So the wall ended up being double duty, one for the electrical and one for sound density for those big router pumps. Routers are in place. We're all set. Next thing is, okay, now what are we going to do? We're going to cut, we're going to bend, we're going to shear. And so we set up our shear and our brake right nice to the router table right across the way. Then from there we said, okay, now we're moving around the building this way. So what's next? Now it's the metal shop. And in our metal shop, we said, okay, we might have a 60-foot pylon sign. We might have an 8-foot pylon sign. We might have China letters. We might have a run of interior signs in Braille. How are we going to be able to react to all these different projects, all this customization? So what we ended up doing was taking, I would say, 4-foot tables, 4 foot wide, maybe 5 foot wide, 12 to 14 feet long, and we put them all on rollers. Then the guys that worked there, all their tools were on rollers. And every single time we had a project, we could literally take and slide the tables like an accordion, turn them sideways for an assembly line, turn them this way so you're working on the stuff, slide them off to the side for the big pylon sign. And this metal area was very versatile for whatever project we needed. Then from there, we had the paint booth. We wanted to keep it indoors, and so we kept it on the right-hand corner. We have both paint systems that we use in the sign industry. So we have Matthews and we have Axel Noble. Those are all set up clean for different various reasons. We have them both there. Get into that in another podcast. And then from there, we come over to the assembly line. The assembly line has all our LEDs, silicones, nuts, bolts, rivets, all the fun stuff to assemble the project, quality control. And then again, we had many racks for finished products sitting there. So when the installers came in, we could just fork off the finished product onto a pallet, put the pallet onto the truck, and our installers were off to the races, their way to go. And the beauty with that was when we did that palletization, we didn't realize how much time was spent for the installers wandering around the shop to find things. The vinyl department, they would cut the vinyl and then they just leave it on a rack in the vinyl department. Assembly would set it to the side, but sometimes they wouldn't put transformers or extra wire. So the installers would spend a half an hour wandering around the shop collecting all the pieces they needed to go do an install correctly. So by us creating a quality control and then shrink wrapping the pallet from the product, they didn't have to walk around anymore. Everything was in that pallet. So let's backtrack. Signs are doing 56 feet, right? Maybe less than 60. All the raw materials are right over here. We can see what we have on hand. At any point in time, you can come out of our production office and just literally open the door and go like this and shut the door. And you knew where every single project was and what stage it was in and how much longer before it left your shop. You could tell it was being routed, it was being cut, it was being welded, it was being painted, or it was being assembled. It was a perfect Henry Ford assembly line through our shop. That's just one example of going from A to B in a straight line. What is another example you guys have in your A to B's going in a straight line? I have it for me just in going to my house, my personal life, where my shoes are placed, right outside the garage. I don't have a problem wiring shoes inside the house, just half the time I don't want to. I'm done having my feet inside shoes, I want to be barefoot. So my shoes are right outside the garage. So as soon as I walk out, I'm about to get in my car, put my shoes on, go into the car. A nice straight line appreciation. I don't take my shoes off anywhere in the house and just leave them there. Not only is it an eyesore and it's cluttered, but now I got to go hunt through the house to try and find my shoes. A simple explanation of another straight line. I almost guarantee, as you're listening to this, you probably have ideas coming out in your head. What can I do to straight line this to ease, how many steps, how much time it takes, and how I'm, where I'm going with that? For me, I have always put my wallet in the same place. It's either in my right front pocket or it is in my pull-out drawer in my closet. That's the only two places that wallet will ever exist. I will never place my wallet anywhere else. And I've never, ever lost my wallet. 44 years on this planet, this many times I've lost my wallet. If you've lost your wallet, almost guaranteed it's because you didn't put it in one of the spots that you have designated for your place. Simple things to set up and go for that. So as we launched our facility that way, made everything clean, went back to the software, made sure it was a straight line depreciation, we started going out to different sign companies, and then we started going to awning companies, we started going to solar companies, and we gave this same speech all the time. Why is it that product X is over here, product Y is way over there, and they should be right next to each other because you're going to use them every single time? Why do you have them here and here and here? And so I go through, and most of the time the clients are so baffled by how much incoming they're learning from the software and how they're learning from management styles that they look at their shop and they go, too much, I can't do it, too much. And they always check out when it comes to the facility. And I always laugh because that's where all the real money is in that facility, in your manufacturing department. Fast forward to, I want to say 2 years ago, two and a half years ago, I had a gentleman call me. He says, Aaron, you were out here 5 years ago and you talked to me about my facility and the straight line and the Henry Ford assembly line, and I want to let you know that I took the time to do it. Now, I ended up shutting my plant down for a whole week. It cost me almost $100,000 to do it, and he goes, and I'm done and it's working. And I said, okay, how do you feel? He goes, I feel like I spent a lot of money. And I said, okay, so you don't feel like the juice was worth the squeeze? He goes, not right now, I don't. He goes, I feel, because I followed you blindly, and I'm kind of scared. I think that was a waste of time and effort. Now we're behind on some of these projects, and I want to call you and talk to you about it. And I said, that's okay. I'm okay with this feeling right now. I get it. You have a little buyer's remorse. Let's talk again in 2 months. And so I put it on my calendar exactly 2 months out. It was a Tuesday. I remember it was like 9 a.m., and it popped up on my phone, and it took me a second to remember. I'm like, oh, yeah. So I called him, and I said, how is your shop running? And he started laughing on the phone. He goes, man, I'm not going to lie. For the past 2 weeks, I've been meaning to call you and apologize, but I just didn't find the words. It was kind of easier not to call. He's all, but I got to admit, not only did we see a huge impact to our bottom line, but my guys are happier. They know where everything is. It's very simple to understand the process. My install teams are flying. Hardly any overtime's going on right now. I never even thought that was possible. And he just kept talking about all the greatness that came from setting up his facility in such a streamlined manner. Isn't it the easiest thought process when you say it out loud? Just set it up in a straight line. I mean, when we say it out loud, we're like, oh yeah, my second grader understands that. He lines up all his little cars. But when you apply it to other things in your world, especially your business, place where you make money, where your household lives off of, it's kind of scary to apply some of the basics that you learn in elementary school. I will admit that. I will admit that sometimes it's scary when it's a big feat or it takes a big feat. But if you break it down in simple steps, you're going to evolve and you're going to be a lot better in the end. So I'll tell you right now, second guessing yourself and freezing up are probably the two biggest killers of your success. Keep moving forward and you're going to be great.